Sabrina 2000s comic, issue 26. We start out with Sabrina slipping and falling on ice skates outside, with Salem not caring. He's reading the latest Other Realm mail order catalog, which talks about X-ray specs that let you see into a 16th dimension. Even though Salem's clearly busy paying attention to the book, Sabrina expects him to help her get more lift before she jumps. She says that she needs little wings on her feet, but somehow she doesn't summon them right away and instead does a jump that sends her flying. Salem casts a spell on the log he was sitting on to fly towards Sabrina and catch her, when it would have been actually good thinking to just magically slow her fall. Landing on a log would still hurt. She wants him to explain what that was all about. She lands and says that her ankles are sore, and it turns out her skates sprouted wings because she wished she had wings on her feet. But that doesn't make sense because how could the wings have made her fly if they were too busy being crushed against the inside of her skates to flap? Salem somehow assumes this has to do with the catalog he was simply reading, not ordering from. She flies in the air doing the backstroke and runs into a tree when she would have obviously known not to do that. Somehow she smiles at this and finds it exhilarating. Salem talks as if it's bad to get hooked on the feeling of flying because he doesn't smile when saying this. And yet Sabrina isn't discouraged from flying on a broom. As I wonder why Sabrina and Salem can't just undo the spell with a single point, Salem realizes it's the fault of the free wish coupon he took out. Sabrina wouldn't need a wish coupon to make her wish come true. She granted her own wishes by accident in the earlier comics. Sabrina complains that they should fix things fast because her feet are freezing, and she's apparently too stupid to cast a keep them warm spell. And naturally she wants to keep this from her aunts, which wouldn't happen if they hadn't trained her to be afraid of them from jumping at every possible excuse to punish and lecture her. Normally Sabrina would want to get her aunts' help if she's too stupid to fix things herself, somehow. She says the wings are tucked into her socks, somehow, and her sneakers still fit. And she still floats by accident, somehow. Why would the wings move without her say so? The comic's apparently too lazy to explain why Hilda and Zelda are going out this evening. She goes upside down to have some fun, and Salem reads the fine print on this coupon as I wonder why Sabrina won't ever cast a spell so that she can fly and float like this again. Out of nowhere, a monster shows up saying that their problems are just beginning. Would Salem just instantly zap him away? He tells Sabrina to stand back and let him handle the intruder, calling her a girl. She just tells him not to overreact to an intruder in their house. The Sabrinas I know would have warped him away herself. This is extremely arbitrary. The plot would be over by now. The monster wants to move in because by agreeing to make a wish with a coupon, people agree to house an unemployed djinn. Salem says he's heard about these scams. And then he zaps him away. No, that would be not brain dead of him. Instead he talks to him. So he gets turned to gold. And I'm expected to believe that it's because the djinn's more powerful than him when a witch could do that. Why does Sabrina say he turned him to stone? He wants to kill Salem. And Sabrina weakly grabs his tail instead of zapping him away and returning Salem to normal instantly. Because she's a complete wimp and idiot in this comic. There's almost no appeal in this comic's writing when it's so dumb. The djinn puts Salem 500 feet in the air because Sabrina was worthless enough to let him get this far. And she keeps blathering on doing nothing as he falls towards the ground. This isn't remotely good writing, forcing a character to be stupid just to force the drama. She saves him by flying, and he says he's gonna ambush her aunt. And because he apparently still wants to grant her every wish, she wishes he'd get a cookie from the jar, instead of wishing him away right away. She shouldn't need Spooky's help. Why can't I actually see Spooky beat him up? Why do I have to wait so many pages for this? Spooky says he gives genies like him a bad name. I knew he was a genie. Why does he look so weird then? Why is he called Spooky as if he's a ghost instead? Sabrina thanks him for the help she was stupid enough to need, and tells him to not punish the djinn anymore, and just send him back where he came from. Oh yeah, so he could scam somebody else. Why does she think he won't come back and warp Spooky to the sun? She wishes she had the afternoon to live over again, and throws the wish coupon in the trash this time. Witches can reverse time too. I instantly predicted in the next story that Sabrina and Chloe didn't need saving. When you over-rely on and then the opposite happens humor, you fail at humor most of the time and just make the writing predictable. It would have been cool to see the ants save them with their witchcraft, but no. Instead, these girls are squealing, of course, because their favorite movie star is appearing at the mall today. Chloe says they're going to see him right after school, for like 5 seconds where they'd get an autograph. Also, I've never heard of Kyle Crud. If the writer wanted to make their reaction more understandable, it'd reference a real celebrity. But maybe he is real. I wouldn't know. Hilda tells him that Sabrina's not going anywhere after school until all of her homework is done. Why do the ants have to be the antagonist at every possible petty opportunity ever? Also, if Sabrina had a brain, she'd just warp to the mall and get an autograph, regardless of what she was told to do. But I guess her aunts would go out of their way to bother her by checking to see if she's doing her homework and go to the mall if she's not there because they don't mind their business for 2 seconds. Sabrina and Chloe realize that the only teacher who really piles on the homework is Marklo. Them saying this immediately gives away that he would do that. For once, Sabrina grows a brain and zaps the asshole to freeze him in time so that he wouldn't pile on the homework. I don't blame her for this one bit. Again, if you're born with a power, why not use it? It's a bit annoying that Chloe states the obvious while seeming to somehow disapprove, because Sabrina doing this helped her, and everyone else in the classroom. But it does make more sense that Chloe would disapprove of her abusing her magic because she's immortal, and if Sabrina abused her magic a lot more in front of her, she'd have a reason to be afraid of her. But I'm willing to bet that this horrible excuse for a story will actually think it's okay to punish Sabrina. There's been studies that suggest that piling on homework isn't actually good for students, and schools can get good results without it. So yeah, he sucks. She even says that she'll unzap him as soon as everyone leaves. What makes her think he won't give her homework right after she does that? Isn't it obvious she needs to unzap him after getting an autograph? I'm sure the custodian, who uncharacteristically wants an early start at freaking cleaning up, would not even notice that he was frozen in time because his eyes would be focused on his work. Somehow Sabrina decides that she can't unzap the teacher because the custodian is there, even though she had no problem freezing him in time in front of everyone in the class when they're all paying attention to him. And nobody got suspicious. How stupid is Sabrina here? And Chloe's gonna look just as stupid if she doesn't point this out, and tell her to unzap him after they get the autograph. There's no reason for Sabrina to wait, especially because erasing memories is a thing that witches can do. If Sabrina's somehow too stunted to know how to erase memories in this comic, she can just warp Salem to her. There's no excuse for whippification of the main character. I'm guessing this is going to be the lame excuse for Sabrina to miss the celebrity anyways. If Chloe was smart, she'd take off right away, not agree to carry him. It was nice of Harvey to thank the teacher at least, but I'm sure he'd give them the homework the next day anyways. You know, it already looks suspicious that they have to push him out of the classroom when he's not moving. Then for no reason, the art teacher thinks the teacher is trying to visit, even though he didn't step foot in her classroom. Sabrina expects her to believe that this isn't Mr. Marklo. If she had a brain, she'd just point to magically make her believe her. She does say it's a papier-mâché statue she made. That's better than saying twin brother, because it explains why he's so still and she can't make a call or check online to disprove her claim. She says nice job, and totally buys it despite the fact that she somehow thinks the nose is too pointy, and Chloe blew their cover by saying, "We did?" I have no idea why Sabrina doesn't cast a freeze in time for just 10 seconds spell. Who would be that incompetent? Suddenly Sabrina's in the art class with Marklo when she clearly was in the hall before and had no reason to go in, and the art teacher tells them all to say hello to some preschoolers she's doing a finger painting program for. Sabrina says they really have to leave now. If Chloe was smart, or Sabrina was, they'd have walked away carrying the statue with magic levitation while ignoring her. There's no reason not to. The kids all paint the statue, and somehow Chloe thinks this is a good time to unzap him instead of telling her to bring him into a bush near the staircase outside the school and hide him there. She can create a bush if she has to. Why in the world does she think she should unfreeze him instead of casting a spell to get rid of all that paint on him? This is dumb. Also, he would have interrupted himself in his sadistic speech because he'd noticed that he wasn't in his classroom anymore, and Sabrina would have an excuse to run away while he was reacting to that. There was no care put into the writing of this at all. Why not quit then? Sabrina puts her hands on Chloe's shoulders at least. And the story ends with them screaming as he just now asks how he got paint on him. Was this garbage supposed to be funny? It's horrible writing. Why can't she just say that she doesn't have homework? We haven't been told that her aunts can use a lie detecting spell, so they don't have one established yet. This story's infuriating. Why can't Sabrina get away with anything? She would have gotten her homework eventually anyways. Also, if Sabrina's willing to take it seriously that it was totally all for nothing just because she was told to do an unbelievable amount of homework, then she would have thought it was too late to freeze him in time because he made it obvious he was going to give her her homework anyways right from the start because he sarcastically hoped they didn't have any plans for this evening. He expects his students to design a house based on math? This isn't funny, it's cruel. I'm pretty sure a lighthearted tone is supposed to make the audience happy. But oh no, it's silly escapades because the teacher got paint on him. This comic gets my blood boiling. In the comedy page, Quigley's here, so already I'm mad. Sabrina's told to get ready for school and tells him in a panic to look outside. That first panel could have been gotten rid of. She says that they've had a huge blizzard and the yard is buried, so school has to be called off. The only reason I thought she did it is that Quigley was conveniently written to say, Quigley assumes she cast a snow spell. Because for some stupid reason, she was somehow stupid enough to not cover the whole neighborhood, which I instantly assumed she would have done. Yeah, this piece of shit is supposed to be a comedy page. I get it, she should be going to school, but this is supposed to be escapist fantasy. The only thing this comic has going for it is that it's at least trying to give me a new experience with some of the stories, but that's supposed to always be the case. In the next story, Salem yawns and asks if someone would bring him lunch because he's tired, and immediately screams at seeing a scary-looking robot cat that asks to shake his hand and wants his name. Sabrina's apparently pulling a prank on him on purpose. She can get away with bothering Salem. I wonder if the writers hated Salem. Sabrina's lucky that he didn't point and destroy it before she could tell him what's going on. She says that this is her birthday present from her aunts. How did they know she'd want that? What teenage girl wants something this creepy? At least she apologizes for scaring him, but it doesn't come off as sincere at all if it's right after she laughs. I have this story. What makes her think Salem would appreciate having this fake cat around? She can use her emote to make it do anything a real cat would do with the press of a button. Why did these idiotic aunts waste their money when they have a cat already? How did this creepy looking thing be the hottest thing on the market? It sure was polite of Salem to humor Sabrina instead of instantly destroying it. He's always made miserable anyway, so why should being punished stop him? Salem guesses that Sabrina doesn't think he's so special anymore since she made a fuss about a talking trash cat. Salem sees an ad on a truck and decides to become a star by revealing that he's a talking cat. There's a reason Salem didn't do this in the sitcom. Would Salem get in trouble with the Witches' Council for this? Would spy witches make this guy forget about him in seconds because he revealed magic? Sabrina gets sent an invitation to Salem's concert and decides to warp to him to find out. Wait a minute, if she can warp just fine without saying a spell now, why didn't she do that a lot more often? Okay, this better last for the rest of the comic. I bet it won't. What took her so long? Why isn't anyone in her family explaining that Salem has to live with them by witch law and isn't allowed to do this? Wouldn't Salem already know that if it was true? Sabrina gets paranoid and tells him that if the world hears Salem talking, they might figure out that he's a warlock and that she's a witch, so everyone would be afraid of her. How does Sabrina expect anyone to know who Salem belongs to? I guess he put his changed last name Spellman on the contract. There's a reason he went by Salem Saberhagen in the sitcom. And it's not just because that name sounds really cool, is it? Also, there's so many people in existence that realistically there would be tons of Spellmans, no matter how much of an obvious witch name that is. But I guess people would know what family he belongs to because he'd live in their town. It's a good thing Sabrina's written to say this because we would never get to see the consequences of him being a star. Salem says that Sabrina would still have her new best friend, Scratches. It was satisfying to see him call her out on that. Sabrina says that no cat could ever take his place and he's part of the family. He immediately moon swings to forgiving her and thanks her and says that he lost his school. Then he immediately wants to get out of his contract and convince his agent that he didn't really talk. Why doesn't Salem just use magic to instantly erase his memory or brainwash him? The former of which he can do. But no, the story has to have a certain amount of pages. Instead, there has to be an unfunny joke at the end, where Salem pretends to be a talking toy cat that talks robotically. Wasn't it obvious that he wasn't acting like that last time, and so he's just lying? It wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for him talking robotically. He's not talking to a different person. The guy rips up the contract, totally buying it. Sabrina tells Salem, "Nice acting," somehow. And the story ends with Salem using Scratches as a slave who brings him his food. Sabrina isn't happy for him, so I'm guessing the excuse for Scratches not being around after the story in universe is that they got rid of him because they hate Salem, so they don't want any robot bring him his food in bed. I get him not getting the idea to do this with him right away because he was caught up in the moment where Sabrina was using him as a cat instead, and the robot looks horrifying, so he wouldn't be put in the mood to feel like giving it a chance and taking advantage of it at first. But this whole plot could have easily been avoided if Salem had just told Sabrina how he felt right after seeing this thing. There was no reason for him not to. And Sabrina could have told him, "You can use this as a robot slave," right away. The first story is by Mike Gallagher, and it's about Sabrina getting the ability to fly with wings that would logically be too crushed up against the inside of her skates to make her start flying that early. Because Salem got out a wish coupon from his Other Realm Novelties magazine. She could have cast a spell to fly. Anyways, what really pissed me off is that by agreeing to use the wish coupon, she was forced to house an abusive djinn while he was unemployed. He acted like he was granting her wishes. So why didn't she just wish him away? The whole time, it was obvious that Sabrina or Salem could have instantly warped him away, frozen in time, and gotten rid of the whole problem right away. Instead, Sabrina needs to get time reversed. No, not by casting a spell herself. No, she needs to get Spooky to bail her out. We don't even get to see the bad guy get beaten up, so there's no satisfaction. And then Spooky reverses time and she gets rid of her wish coupon. It was fun to see her fly for the most part. I guess I can buy that the djinn would be housed in her house, but not that she wouldn't zap him away immediately. And every witch would do that. So the whole housing scam would have been given up on immediately. I wish it was explained that a witch can't zap a djinn away. Couldn't she beat him up with a baseball bat she summoned? No, that'd be smart and competent. We can't have violence, unless it's against Salem. The second story, by Angelo, is some frustrating garbage where Sabrina can't get away with anything. Why can't she go meet a celebrity at the mall for 5 seconds? Was that too hard? Logic would dictate that she would have made the freezing spell on her horrible teacher temporary so she wouldn't need to inexplicably stay with him. And she should have known that unzapping him would guarantee that he'd give her the homework anyways. And couldn't she just not tell her aunt she has homework? Every mishap they got into with the frozen teacher was forced. The third story was about Salem running away from Sabrina because she replaced him with a robot cat because her aunts were stupid enough to buy one when they had a cat. And instead of Salem telling Sabrina how he feels right away, he runs away to be a star because he's a talking cat. Somehow he thinks he's allowed to do this by the Witches' Council, and the only mentioned consequence to this would be that people in Greendale would figure out that Sabrina's magical because her cat is. Yeah, possibly. He's talked out of it quickly. For once there was logic, so I was stunned by that. But never mind, if Salem had a brain, he would have cast a spell to instantly erase the memory of his agent. Not put on an act that shouldn't fool him because he remembers how he acted before. It would have been exciting if the story lasted long enough that people did figure out she was a witch and we could see all the consequences of that. And then time could be reversed to fix that. Maybe that not happening is why the story came off as lame. Because it never actually got off the ground. Why get us excited about him becoming a star if he won't? If Sabrina or her aunts had brains, they'd have convinced Salem to use the robot cat as a slave from the start. A robot servant is an obvious idea, especially for someone who tried to take over the world before.